that Meruem's learning speed is actually increasing. She admits that Meruem is learning quickly, but she's still not even trying. Hey, what's up everybody? It's LeeLos, and today we're talking about why Meruem versus Komugi is genius. Stay steady in pursuit of your dreams and goals. You're born to win, you're made for greatness, and I definitely believe in you guys. Keep up the great work each and every day. So, Meruem versus Komugi is one of the most impressive strategic battles in all of Hunter x Hunter. Today we're going to analyze every single element of their battle to explain overall why Meruem versus Komugi is genius. Komugi is one of, if not actually just the, weakest character in the entirety of the Chimera Ant arc, and her battle takes place against Meruem, the strongest character in the entirety of the Chimera Ant arc. This strategic fight takes place over a large portion of the Chimera Ant arc, and Komugi never loses a single time. The concept of having the weakest character fight the strongest character is a genius concept on its own, but the fact that Komugi never loses, even after Meruem is amped in his post-Rose state, is definitely underrated, especially considering the fact that post-Rose Meruem now has the ability of Poof to read the emotions of his opponents, and he still never wins a game against Komugi. But it's debatable on whether or not he actually used this Hatsu ability against Komugi. Meruem versus Komugi begins with Meruem performing some of the most impressive strategy and intelligence feats that we've seen in the entire series. Meruem is challenging numerous champions in their game of expertise, reading their rulebook for the first time, then defeating them almost instantly. After reading the rulebook for the strategy game Go, Meruem's defeating the national champion after only playing 10 games. Poof states that Meruem's learning speed is actually increasing. This is proven because Meruem mastered Go in less than half the time it took for him to master the game Shogi. Immediately after this, he reads the rulebook of Gungi and plays his first match against Komugi. Gungi is a game similar to chess, but it's implied to be more challenging due to the pieces being able to be stacked 3 levels high. It's heavily implied that Komugi does not have success at anything else other than Gungi. She's so physically weak, her parents complain that Komugi can't do things that even babies can do. But the moment their game of Gungi begins, Komugi changes completely. It's almost as if she becomes a different person. Meruem analyzes the moves that Komugi used to beat him in their first game. The strategy that Komugi used to defeat Meruem was listed in the book, and so was Komugi's opening array. This implies that she was beating Meruem without using her best moves, and Meruem thinks to himself that she's not even getting serious yet. They continue having numerous matches until the end of the day, and Komugi not only wins every single time, but she confirms that she was holding back the entire time as well. She admits that Meruem is learning quickly, but she's still not even trying. Considering that Meruem was able to defeat a national champion in their game of expertise after only 10 games, there's a real possibility that Meruem is already well beyond a national champion level in this game of Gungi, but it's still nothing compared to Komugi. It should also be noted that Komugi can't see, meaning not only has she memorized where every piece on the board is, but at all times, she has to remember where Meruem's pieces are and remember where her own pieces are while seeing through Meruem's strategies while at the same time creating her own strategies, and she's able to do this against Meruem while Meruem's learning and improving at an unreal speed. Komugi then states that she can play Gungi for 3 days straight if she has to. Overall, Komugi's skill and level of intelligence is massively underrated. Meruem still cannot see the rhythm to Komugi's playstyle, but he thinks that after 4 or 5 more games, he'll be able to make Komugi use her full abilities and actually try. Then he thinks he'll be able to see her rhythm and defeat her. However, it turns out that Meruem was just underestimating Komugi. After they play numerous more matches, Poof states that Meruem's having a difficult time no matter how many games they play. Her moves are getting more and more difficult to understand, and after one of Meruem's defeats, Meruem thinks to himself, the only way that Komugi's victory feat was possible was if she predicted all 144 moves of the game from the very beginning. This feat was so impressive that Meruem thinks to himself that it was impossible. Komugi's doing all of this, and she still might not have even been trying yet. Meruem creates a new move in the strategy game, and he thinks that this time he'll actually win. Komugi hesitates for a moment, then effortlessly defeats Meruem again. She hesitated because she actually created the same move that Meruem did, but she created it 10 years ago. This implies that after all of these games, Meruem just now is reaching the level that Komugi was at 10 years ago. Komugi's speech here was the first time that Meruem ever listened to somebody for this long. This implies that Meruem's actually beginning to develop respect for Komugi. Meruem reveals that his rhythm is the one being disrupted, so this time he tries to disrupt Komugi's rhythm using greed and fear, stating that the next game she can get any wish she wants if she wins, but if she loses, he'll take her left arm. But then Komugi states that usually every game she bets far more than this. She bets her entire life. At this point, Komugi is starting to fundamentally change Meruem as a character, and the words she says to him here actually makes him regret his decision, and to apologize, he rips off his arm. Komugi is the first character in all of Hunter x Hunter to make Meruem apologize and to make Meruem question himself. Meruem does not want to be healed and wants to play the game with one arm, but Komugi forces Meruem to get healed by Pito first before they continue playing. So at this point, Komugi has made a fundamental change to Meruem's character, and she beat him in a verbal exchange as well. They play Gungi for what's implied to be multiple days straight, to the point where Poof states she's exhausted and at her limit. Meruem notices this and they stop playing. They'll continue once she's back in top condition. This is another big moment for Meruem because Meruem had set a rule that next time they're playing without any breaks. So now Meruem has gone back on his word. Even though she's the weakest character in all of the Chimera Ant arc, she debatably has a bigger impact than any of the Palace Hunters. If it wasn't for Komugi, Meruem probably would have just stayed in the palace and soloed all of the Palace Hunters. So you could make a real argument that out of every character in the Chimera Ant arc, she might have had the largest role in the Palace Hunters actually defeating Meruem and the Royal Guard. In the next games we see between Meruem and Komugi, he's genuinely asking Komugi for advice, and Poof states that Meruem is still improving at a very fast rate, but so is Komugi. Meruem states he can tell that Komugi's getting better and that she's still far stronger than he is in this strategy game. Then immediately after this, Komugi awakens Nen, and it improves her ability to play Gungi even further, and it gives us more insight into Nen in general. The Hunter x Hunter Nen proficiency chart states that Komugi is actually an enhancer, and it's unknown as to whether or not this is actually her Hatsu ability, or if she's actually using her Nen to enhance her mind. So it brings up the question, maybe this is something all enhancers can do. Also, the fact that she was considerably stronger than Meruem before she had Nen, and then she adds Nen on top of this, that specifically makes her stronger at Gungi, is one of the most impressive feats in all of Hunter x Hunter. And this is one of the biggest moments for Meruem's entire character. He's gained so much respect for Komugi that he wants to know Komugi's name. Komugi then wants to know what Meruem's name is. This scene is actually the reason why Meruem was willing to fight Netero at all. He initially wanted to just talk to Netero, but because Netero knew what Meruem's name was, he was able to get Meruem to fight him. Meruem does not know what his name is, and he never once questioned what his name was before this. He speaks to all of the Royal Guard about this. Meruem is genuinely teetering on the line between human and Chimera Ant for the very first time. This is an interesting theme that happens to numerous different Chimera Ants all throughout this arc. However, with most of the Chimera Ants, it's because they regain their memories from when they were human, with the greatest example being Melioron. He left the Chimera Ants entirely and joined the Palace Hunters. Meanwhile, Meruem is not regaining any of the memories he had as a human. Instead, his mindset is being fundamentally changed by the weakest character in the Chimera Ant arc. He goes back with a mentality that now he'll kill Komugi and fully focus on being the king of the Chimera Ants. He then sees that Komugi is being attacked by a bird, showing that Komugi is so weak, she's literally weaker than a normal bird. And instead of killing Komugi, Meruem saves her life. He views her as an important guest. This is the first time that Meruem has said this about anyone. As Meruem's saying this, he's questioning himself. He doesn't understand why he genuinely respects someone who is canonically weaker than a normal bird, because Meruem respecting Komugi goes entirely against what Meruem was fundamentally designed for. He's supposed to be a character that destroys everything. When Komugi's hit by Zeno's Dragon Dive ability, it's implied that Meruem and Komugi were actually in the middle of another game of Gungi, because you can see the Gungi board was torn in half and it was right beside them. But this scene changes multiple characters in a very short short time frame. Meruem fully trusted Pito to heal Komugi. This was probably the most important command Meruem ever gave to Pito, because Pito succeeding in this would mean more to Meruem than anything else Pito has ever done, and Pito became very protective of Komugi for the rest of the arc, which was a monumental shift in character for Pito, because Pito never cared about anyone before this. Zeno states, "This wasn't what I signed up for," and the narrator states that Netero felt the same way. Meruem had changed so much that he didn't even want to fight Netero. He wanted to just talk to Netero. So it's one of the craziest character transformations that we've seen throughout the story, and it's a direct parallel to Gon's transformation into a monster during the same arc. Because as Gon's becoming more and more of a monster, Meruem is becoming more and more of a human. It should also be noted that when Meruem comes back as post-Rose Meruem, the one thing that stops him from becoming a complete monster is hearing Komugi's name a single time. This is also an interesting parallel to Chimera ants like Melioron, where the moment Melioron got his memories back, he decided to work with the hunters. Here, the moment Meruem gets his memories of Komugi back, he debatably might have just been a good guy. It's very interesting to wonder what would have happened if Meruem survived the Chimera Ant arc. He might not have actually even been evil anymore. It's a debatable thing because it's really hard to tell. It's really hard to say. Maybe he would have still wanted to destroy everything. That's a possibility. Or maybe he would have actually just been a good guy. Like, maybe he would have even helped the hunters. Who knows? It really could have gone either way. It's debatable. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that if Meruem had survived the Chimera Ant arc, do you think he would have just 100% committed to thinking like a human? Or do you think he was still at the point where he was teetering in between human and Chimera Ant? But all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate the views in the comments. Like and subscribe, and I'll see ya on the next one.